the church was designed and executed in 1906 as a gift. The architects, Morgan and Dillon, gave their services in the design of this building. But it wasn't until 1956 that another major building program took place. In other words, a good 40 years. When that happened, a basic architectural problem was how do you connect a square to a rounded end to a building. So there had to be an umbilical built, which was an afterthought between the 1919 building and the 1956 building. So that gave us three buildings that defined an open space. The arcade was an attempt to express in an open fashion the kind of Gothic, pseudo-Gothic architecture that was occurring in the buildings. It doesn't really separate the church from the street or the street from the church. And it was a stunning accomplishment to use the Corten steel and the Bosch and Loam plastic roof. Well, the objective here, even before the arcade was put in, was to form a lawn that the church could, the parishioners could come out of church if they wished to and stroll and assemble on an open lawn. And of course, the lawn is diminishing as there gets to be more and more shade. But we're at a point now where we'd rather give up the extent of the grass in order to keep the sculptural Yopine hollies. At All Saints, where we visited, the forms are very strong, and I think that's one of the reasons I'm really so pleased with it. And at Canterbury Court, which we saw yesterday, the masonry forms are what give it the bone structure. As we saw at Canterbury Court, trees have come and gone. You had not seen it before, but 35 years ago there were different trees, but the basic shadow patterns and light are very similar, and they accomplish the same thing. But the transportation pattern, the evolution of the spaces are there, and they will not change unless somebody starts bulldozing. At All Saints, the enclosures are there, and it's always important to think in terms of somebody walking in space. It's not an abstract design. It's not just something created to look good on paper to get a zoning permit, but rather it's to create a space that can be experienced. And you can give people a frightful experience as well as a pleasing experience. You can encumber them, enclose them, tighten them, squeeze them, or liberate them in each of our efforts. And I think at All Saints it's a very pleasant sequence of spaces that serve different purposes. And in the process, we've had to look at everything from soil to appropriate hard surfaces, to drainage, to likely patterns of abuse by just the user, and obviously selecting plant materials that would require minimum attention by the ignorant. I don't know. If you know enough, you can do a good job. So it's a wow.